What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie. I recently realized that I had never reviewed Ween's live albums, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it in order of their release, just one at a time, because I want to enjoy them, and I want to convince more people to go listen to all of them, because they're all fantastic. But I'm also going to rank them as I go, just for those of you who only want to check out one if you're watching the last of the videos and you want to know which one to start with. Today, their first officially released live album, Painting the Town Brown, 2 CDs. This is the definition. So Ween has this term, brown. They sound brown. Their music is brown. That show was particularly brown. I saw them once at Stubbs. I think this was released on their Stubbs release, which I'll talk about in a couple videos. They did like a 35-minute Let Me Lick Your Pee, a Prince cover, like a 35-minute one, which got so brown that at one point members of the audience got on stage, and all females, and pretty much tried to enact what was happening in the lyrics. And then a guy got on stage, and I think he got kicked off by Diener. Was like confused. The guy was like, dude, get out of here. And the entire band went behind the risers and just kind of jammed out. I think it was like a bass drum solo at this point. Diener had already laid down like this nasty solo, and kind of just jammed out, kind of riffed while these audience members put on the show. It was one of the brownest things I've ever seen. Earlier in the show, it's just, I don't know. This album captures brown, I think, perfectly. Single songs capture it. The entire vibe captures it. The sequencing of the song is brown. And like you go from like the most distorted, aggressive, noisy, psych rock metal song called Mushroom Festival in Hell, which opens the entire thing, to a country song called Japanese Cowboy that has the coda to Chariots of Fire tacked onto the end of it. That's about as brown as you can get, that sequence right there. Just head scratching in its brilliance. Is it brilliant? Yeah, it's brilliant. But yeah, this is fantastic. It's not a show. It's a bunch of different tracks going from as early as 90, when it was like a guitar, a voice, and a boombox, to the, I'm pretty sure it's the 12 Country Greats tour with the full cowboy band, the Western band, the Schitt's Creek Boys playing. So you get a variety of tracks, and they kind of bounce. Like, it's not like we go in chronological order. We'll go from 90 to 97 to like 94, back to 91. Sound quality will vary. Yeah, it's all over the map, but that's kind of brown, I would say. I would argue. Opens up with Mushroom Festival in Hell. The title says it all. Just pure Ween, raw brownness, noisy, just aggressive. Just, yeah, it's just the band, an oral assault by Ween. Brilliantly played. Japanese Cowboy follows, a cowboy song, country song about a Japanese cowboy. Brilliant. Then we get Mountain Dew, the cover of the folk song. I think Johnny Cash and Dylan do this on one of the bootleg series. Is that 15? The Johnny Cash one? Right around there, 14 or 15. I think it's 15. This is just a drunkenly woozy, cheap sounding, utterly brown version of Mountain Dew. Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. It is at times really just amateur sounding. The guitar solo in the beginning is almost just like he doesn't know how to play the guitar and doesn't know how to tune it. And then later on, it just gets crazier and weirder and psychier. And then by the very end, it almost becomes normal again. Like, it's just like almost this normal cover of it. It's just 5.5 minutes of a roller coaster of a cover of an old folk song. I think like it's an Appalachian folk song. Mountain Dew, yeah, which is about moonshine. Then we get Bumblebee, which absolutely sounds like you were being chased by a really mad bumblebee. I think this is an early one. Yeah, this is from 90, where it's just a voice, a boombox, and a guitar. Just raw, brown. The bee that is chasing you in this one, which is essentially Diener's guitar, just like playing this really like high, frantic, noisy, like distorted guitar solo almost the entire time. The bee is insane. Like, you're not getting away from this bee. Then we get the thing that I played almost on a loop for like a long time when I first bought this, Voodoo Lady. They started to stretch out Voodoo Lady live. They eventually figured out what to do with it after they dropped it in Chocolate. And then at first, I don't think they were really stretching it out as much. And then they just really started to like stretch out that middle section. And Diener would just shred, just sheets of metallic six-string noise while the band just played this really kind of funky thing. Then after he'd end his solo, which was like 2 or 3 minutes long, he'd come in with this amazing rhythm work. Sometimes live versions, they drop into like Prince's Kiss. They don't on this one. It's 7.5 minutes of pure, glorious, funky, shredding Diener Voodoo Lady. Absolutely fantastic. Like one of the absolutely must-hears on this set. If you're unfamiliar with anything other than the studio version of Voodoo Lady. And the keyboard work, super funky in the back. Absolutely amazing. We then get some soft rock smoothness with an ode to Renee, a little bit of French in there. This was the B-side to Push Little Daisies. This should have been on the album. It's absolutely fantastic. It's kind of a precursor for Baby Bitch. And then you have this nice, sweet song. And then at the end, at the end of the song, he's like, oh no, F you, man. F you. Like you get it in a cheerful, like, hey, this is where the song is leading us to way. Yeah, fantastic. Ode to Renee. Absolutely fantastic. Mr. Richard Smoker follows off the country album. Pretty straight version of that. They rotate solos in the middle. So, each band member gets really short little snippet solo. We get a Dr. Rock. And I've seen Ween dozens and dozens of times in my life. And Dr. Rock was played at most of those shows, maybe all of those shows. Seems like it was played a lot. It was never not perfect. It's never not the absolute perfect song to hear at a Ween show, no matter what's happening. Usually there's like Ween shows are long, like 2.5, 3 hours. I've seen shows that run that, or at least 2 hours, even if you're just like at a, whatever. Dr. Rock was always in that like beginning of the last 2/3 when things were at their brownness, when they play like a really bunch of really aggressive songs and then go into something like dark and deep and weird and spacey and almost too slow and then go back with more intensity. Dr. Rock was usually buried in the midst of that. It's like the heart and soul of that. And this Dr. Rock is just perfect. The drop of everything about this is perfect. That's followed by I Can't Put My Finger on It. This is from 97, and they were really stretching this out. Like a 2.5 minute song turned into like a 9-minute song. It's got like 3 kind of opening sections before they get into the real song. This almost Pink Floyd-y, synthy keyboard section that opens up for about a couple minutes. And then that goes into this really almost like Middle Eastern late night on the desert. Like you're kind of going over, over the Sahara, going over the sand dunes. And maybe there's like evil spirits out there creeping up, but you're not sure. And then after about a minute of that, Gene starts singing like I'm assuming it's actually Arabic, but doing like this almost like, midnight call to like ritual type song that the band plays around with. And then finally, about 5.5 minutes into it, they start actually playing I Can't Put My Finger on It. And if you have not heard it live, I think it is a much different, more muscular, creepier, just a really cool song that I think the Chocolate and Cheese version is good. The live versions blow that version out of the water. This is another absolute must-hear on this album. Then we get Cover It With Gas and You Set It On Fire. 1.5 minutes of absolute perfection. The lyrics pretty much tell it all. There is a video of the Muppets, and this song is superimposed over a Muppet scene on YouTube. Go Cover It With Gas Muppets. It's a must-watch. Then we get Awesome Sound. And Awesome Sound is really just a lot of Diener absolutely shredding. It's noisy. And every once in a while they come in and they're like, I got an awesome sound. And they just kind of shred away and pound away for like 8 minutes and make a lot of noise. And it's really heavy and it's really electric and it's really absolutely fantastic. We get some pork roll, egg, and cheese mentioned. And at one point when Diener is shredding, you can hear Gene begging Diener, don't hurt him, Diener, don't hurt him, as Diener just orally assaults you with his guitar. It's fantastic brown stuff. And to make it even more brown, and this is typical of what you would even hear in a live situation, Tender Situation follows. An early 1990 Tender Situation, like a weird little low-key, trippy, woozy kind of Brown song, where it's just the two of them. This is an early version. This one devolves into a really nice feedback solo at the end. After that, we get a Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony, which at the end of it, I think this is, oh yeah, at the end of it, Gene says, this is one of the best ones we've played all week, which is a great comment. Really good Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony, just a fun little song. An amazing, awesome, I think this is the cowboy country version, the rock country energy of I Saw Jeaner Crying in his sleep. Just that full band hitting this song. Sounds so good. Sounds so sweet and clean and pure. And it's just so country. I Saw Jeaner, fantastic. After that, we get a Marbled Tulip Juicy Tree, a full band version. Absolutely sick guitar solo at the end. Gene going off at the end. Love just the energy of this. Just that there's like this real great, awesome set of psych bounce to this song. Just absolutely fantastic. That guitar solo and the sort of build up at the end is amazing. And then side one, disc one, closes out with the She Fucks Me. She Fucks Me. What a beautiful, beautiful song for a young man to write. Hey, look what me. That's what happens. Beautiful little, awesome little, creepy little song. Guitar so beautiful. You think it's going to be even prettier. It is. And then he starts singing. You're like, oh, I guess that's a great sentiment. Great way to end this. It's an amazing, amazing disc. This disc alone is worth the set. And then we have side two. Side two is probably the disc that most Ween fans, and even I, will listen to much less than side one. It consists of 3 songs. The first one being a 26-minute Poop Ship Destroyer. This is Poop Ship Destroyer at its brownness. 1, because of length. 2, because it really just, like, a good half of it is just that poop. There's like this certain sort of rhythmic pattern that gets played. It like cycles through for X number of bars. And at the end of it, it reaches this point where after this like really weird lyrics by Gene and like just distorted like guitar by Diener and like just weird Brown energy, everything almost gets to this point where it just like tiptoes for a couple bars, like and then the whole thing kind of repeats. And as the song goes on, it just gets browner and Gene's making up lyrics and Diener's just going off. And finally they abandon the song after, it's a 2.5-minute song on the studio version. After, who knows, 10, 15 minutes, they abandon the song and Diener just starts making noise, just like waves and waves of just electronic, brown, distorted, space, no nonsense noise. It's not really a song anymore. We're just floating out in space because everything we have firm to stand on has been destroyed by the Poop Ship Destroyer. It's 26 minutes of Ween, Brown, indulgent perfection, perfected indulgence. Like it's an experience. Probably better live. I would imagine you get to watch what's happening on stage. But listening to it, not live, or, I mean live in person in the moment. Listening to it not live is still, it's a cathartic experience. It's a trying experience. But when you're done, you feel like something has been accomplished. That's the first track on the CD. The second track is a 30-minute Vallejo. Vallejo is I think it's like a 3-minute song, maybe 2.5 minutes. It was the B-side to Voodoo Lady. It's 30 minutes, which means they pretty much do the song, and then Diener solos for a while. Then we get a really long bass solo. Then we get a drum solo. And then we get some more bass comes back in with the drums. And then Gene starts making up all these, does this just chanting, singing, jamming, improv thing with the band supporting behind him. It's just indulgent. It's them just up there, like everybody getting a chance to do their own thing. It's definitely not as compelling as Poop Ship Destroyer is, but there are definitely moments. The stuff Gene's doing at the end is interesting. The first part of the song up to the bass solo I think is fantastic with Diener's playing. I'm not a big bass solo, drum solo fan, especially when it goes on for a long time, but they're bringing lots of energy. But it isn't something I go back and re-listen to a lot. And then the last song is like a 3-minute puffy cloud. The band is having a good time. The audience is having a good time. It seems cheerful and fun. And it's a perfectly Brown way to end a side of music, which has a 26-minute noise infused, loud, chaotic, just indulgent jam. And then a 30-minute song, which has a bunch of solos by people and other jams. And it's 56 minutes, plus a puffy cloud of Ween at their brownest, most indulgent, probably head scratching at times, not something you're going to pull out and listen to very often. Best, if that makes sense. It's very Ween. You have 16 songs on side A on the first CD or on the first half of the album, and it's just, going back and forth from different times. You get all these different flavors and all this kind of cohesion and jams and ideas, and then you just get, I'm gonna throw all this down and you figure it out on disc 2. Yeah, that's pure Ween. They have painted the town as brown as it could possibly be. Yeah, if you're new to Ween, the first disc is the one to reach for, and the second disc is the one to like, hey, if you don't like it, don't re-listen to it. I think it's an acquired taste. It's something like, having seen this live, I've seen them do this a couple times back in the 90s before they kind of abandoned this like really long, indulgent type thing. And seeing it live was fantastic because you get to watch what's actually happening on stage and, and interact and feel like you have more of this like personal interaction with the band, especially because the venues back then were definitely much smaller. But it's an interesting listen, especially the Poop Ship Destroyer. The Poop Ship Destroyer seems to be this like, maybe you can argue an elevated art form or just complete indulgent nonsense. You decide. But it's a good hang either way. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Painting the Town Brown. I recommend you get it. I think it's worth it for CD1 alone. If CD2 wasn't even there, CD1 makes it worth it. The Voodoo Lady, I can't get my finger on it. Just the way they have expanded those and really changed those from the studio version are spectacular. And then just everything else, the brownness, the awesome sound, the Mushroom Festival in Hell, the Dr. Rock. Just everything works on the first disc. Everything works. But yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Go listen to Ween. Go listen to this album. Yeah, it's really good. Ween's fantastic. Peace. Talk to you later.